Hey, Sage here. So I'm not sure if this segment will translate, but hopefully it will. So long story short is being a musician in New York City, I have played in Washington Square Park and jammed with many of the musicians there. Now, in Washington Square, you get a real assortment. There's a group of jazz musicians who are like serious jazz musicians, but all work as like doctors and lawyers and financial people in the daytime. Then there's a group of kind of, for lack of a better word, burnt out hippies that are in their 60s and 70s who, you know, some of them play very well, some of them don't. And, but what call they're unfortunately, that group is not as many of them, you know, over recent years. We've been losing a lot of them. But the third group is a group that we affectionately call the Asylum. So the Asylum is a group of kind of motley musicians that many of them can't carry a tune, and many of them are basically alcoholics and all kinds of situations like that. So there was a guy named John who used to come by, and he didn't play music, he just listened, but he was kind of special needs, but also an alcoholic and always had a beer, and he used to always say the same phrase over and over again. He used to say, "Hey everybody, I'm the Beastmaster, you're the Beast." And when he would see me, every time he would say, "Hey, how you doing, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme?" So, even though his name was John, many people called him the Beastmaster, because he used to say that phrase so often. So there's another guy, Steve, who while people were playing music, and Beastmaster John kind of looks like that guy Vern from those movies back in the day. Like, "Hey everybody, this is Vern. Vern's gonna do that." That guy, he looks kind of just like Vern. Okay, so to give you the visual. And then there's another guy, Steve, who looks like Ewan McGregor on acid. And he walks around with a Robin Hood hat on with a huge feather in it. And he just, while people play music, people like the serious jazz musicians are there and they're like, and he stands in the background and goes, it just barks. So I came up with the idea, which is horrible, of calling him Dino, because like the dog from from the Flintstones, Dino, who would go. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to call him Dino. So the two of them, Beastmaster and Dino, at one point began hanging out together. And so one of my friends, one of the musicians, we had the great idea. We said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we built a reality program around the two of them? Like, have the two of them go to very high-class establishments and then film this. And be like, this week on Dino and the Beastmaster, Dino and the Beastmaster go to the opera. And have, like, the Ewan McGregor guy with little opera glasses and things. You know, it's like, this week on Dino and the Beastmaster, Dino and the Beastmaster go to an art gallery. You know, just like, it lends itself to natural hilarity to have those situations. I was reminded by this because it was a guy on my train ride who very much sounded like John. It was like, "Hey everybody, what's going on? Yeah." So it just reminded me of John, also known as Beastmaster. So there is the story of Dino and the Beastmaster.